Breaking news in the mystery of the passenger plane that vanished into thin air. U.S. investigators tell ABC News they are considering the possibility based on new clues.
On the night of March 8, 2014, at precisely 12:41 a.m. local time, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 pushed back from Gate C1 at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Within 7 hours, this Boeing 777-200ER would execute what may be the most sophisticated vanishing act in aviation history, a disappearance so calculated, so methodical, that it would expose fundamental weaknesses in our global surveillance systems and leave 239 souls lost in the void. What began as a routine red-eye flight to Beijing transformed into a mystery that has consumed investigators, devastated families, and challenged everything we thought we knew about modern aviation security. In this video, we piece together the evidence of a deliberate act, one that suggests someone aboard MH370 possessed intimate knowledge of radar systems, satellite communications, and international airspace protocols. This is the story of how a commercial airliner became a phantom, and why the truth may be more terrifying than we ever imagined. At 1:19 a.m., Captain Zaharieh Ahmad Shah's voice crackled through the radio for the final time. "Good night, Malaysian 370. These would be the last words ever heard from the 239 people aboard the aircraft. Within minutes, something extraordinary began to unfold. A sequence of events so precise in their execution that they could only have been orchestrated by someone with professional aviation knowledge. At 1:21 a.m., just 2 minutes after that final radio call, MH370's transponder went silent near the IGAR-I waypoint, a critical transition zone between Malaysian and Vietnamese airspace. The timing was not coincidental. This moment represented one of aviation's most vulnerable gaps. The handover period between two nations' air traffic control systems lasting mere minutes where active oversight transitions from one radar system to another. But MH370 did not plummet from the sky. Instead, military radar would later reveal that the aircraft executed a deliberate left turn, arcing back across the Malay Peninsula and heading northwest toward the Andaman Sea. No distress call was issued. No emergency beacon activated. The silence was as calculated as the route change itself. This was not the path of a crippled aircraft or the random trajectory of an emergency. This was the work of someone who understood exactly how to exploit the blind spots in Southeast Asia's surveillance network, someone who knew that by turning off the transponder at that precise moment, they could render a massive commercial airliner effectively invisible to civilian radar systems. To understand the sophistication of what occurred aboard MH370, we must examine the systematic shutdown of the aircraft's communication systems. At 1:07 a.m., while cruising peacefully over the South China Sea, MH370 transmitted what would be its final routine, ACARS message, the aircraft communications addressing and reporting system that serves as aviation's digital heartbeat. ACARS automatically relays crucial flight information every 30 minutes, fuel levels, engine performance, aircraft system status. The next scheduled transmission, due at 1:37 a.m., never came. This was not equipment failure. ACARS does not simply stop functioning without cause, and its scheduled communications. The continued flight of MH370 for nearly 7 hours after this blackout eliminates the possibility of electrical failure. The Boeing 777 is equipped with multiple redundant power systems, the ram air turbine, emergency generator, auxiliary power units, and engine-driven generators. If any of these primary systems had failed, backup systems would have activated immediately, restoring power to ACARS and other critical communications equipment. The blackout of ACARS, followed by the separate shutdown of the transponder, reveals something chilling. These were two independent actions performed by someone who understood aviation systems intimately. Moreover, fully disabling ACARS requires access to the aircraft's avionics bay beneath the cockpit, a highly secure area off-limits to passengers and accessible only to qualified personnel. Yet perhaps the most perplexing element occurred at 2:25 a.m. when MH370's satellite communication system suddenly reactivated. After going offline during the ACARS shutdown, the aircraft's SATCOM unit was manually powered back on, allowing it to begin transmitting automatic handshake signals to the Inmarsat satellite network. These signals would become the only breadcrumbs left behind in MH370's digital disappearance. The reactivation of MH370's satellite communication system at 2:25 a.m. created an unexpected digital trail. 7 hourly handshake signals that would become the key to mapping the aircraft's final journey. These handshakes were not GPS coordinates or detailed flight data, but rather signal timing measurements that revealed the aircraft's distance from the Inmarsat satellite at each transmission. Each handshake contained a timestamp showing how long radio signals took to travel from the aircraft to the satellite and back to Earth. By calculating these delays and combining them with the known position of the geostationary satellite, investigators could determine that MH370 was somewhere along circular arcs stretching across thousands of kilometers of ocean and land. The analysis revealed two potential flight paths, a northern corridor stretching across Central Asia toward Kazakhstan and a southern arc descending into the remote Indian Ocean. Additional Doppler shift analysis, measuring frequency changes caused by the aircraft's movement relative to the satellite, strongly indicated the southern trajectory. 6 complete handshakes were recorded after the initial logon. At approximately 3:41, 4:41, 5:41, 6:41, 7:41, and finally at 8:19 a.m. Each signal confirmed that MH370 remained airborne for nearly 7 hours after losing contact, an extraordinary revelation that eliminated any possibility of sudden catastrophic failure. The final handshake at 8:19 a.m. included an anomalous partial handshake that investigators interpreted as a power interruption, likely caused by fuel exhaustion and engine flameout. When a Boeing 777's main engines cease functioning, the auxiliary power unit provides brief emergency power to critical systems, just long enough for one final satellite communication before the aircraft's inevitable descent into the ocean. This last confirmed signal allowed analysts to draw the 7th arc across the southern Indian Ocean, representing MH370's final known position. Yet despite this digital breadcrumb trail, the aircraft's physical location would remain one of aviation's greatest mysteries. Within 48 hours of MH370's disappearance, investigators uncovered a detail that initially appeared explosive. 2 passengers had boarded the flight using stolen European passports. The revelation sent shockwaves through the international intelligence community, raising immediate fears of terrorism or coordinated attack. The individuals were later identified as Puriya Nur Mohammad Mehrdad, a 19-year-old Iranian, and Delavar Sayed Mohammad Reza, age 29, also from Iran. Both had used fraudulent documents, an Austrian passport stolen in Thailand in 2012 and an Italian passport taken in 2013, to board their flight in Kuala Lumpur. As the investigation deepened, a more human story emerged. Rather than international terrorists, these were asylum seekers attempting to reach Europe through illegal migration networks. Puriya was trying to reunite with his mother in Germany, while Delavar was also seeking refuge from Iran's increasingly oppressive political climate. Their successful boarding exposed a critical flaw in international aviation security. Despite Interpol maintaining a database of over 40 million stolen travel documents, many airports, including Kuala Lumpur, did not routinely cross-reference passenger information against this system. Two desperate young men had unwittingly become victims of the same tragedy they had hoped to escape. The stolen passport incident, while ultimately unrelated to MH370's disappearance, highlighted the vulnerability of commercial aviation to document fraud and the desperation of those seeking new lives away from persecution and poverty. The search for MH370 became the most complex maritime recovery operation in history, spanning multiple years, covering over 120,000 square kilometers of seafloor, and costing hundreds of millions of dollars. The primary search zone, determined by satellite handshake analysis, lay in one of Earth's most remote and treacherous regions, the southern Indian Ocean. This vast expanse of water reaches depths exceeding 4,000 meters, deeper than Mount Everest is tall, and is buffeted by some of the world's most violent currents and unpredictable weather systems. The seafloor terrain includes abyssal plains, underwater mountains, and deep trenches that challenge even the most advanced search technologies. The first breakthrough came in July 2015 when a wing flaperon washed ashore on Réunion Island, thousands of kilometers from the projected crash site. This fragment provided the first physical confirmation that MH370 had indeed met its end in the Indian Ocean. Over subsequent years, additional debris pieces were recovered across the western Indian Ocean. Cabin panels, wing components, and engine cowling scattered along African coastlines. In 2018, private American company Ocean Infinity launched a revolutionary no-find, no-fee search using autonomous underwater vehicles equipped with advanced sonar and artificial intelligence-assisted mapping. Despite covering 112,000 square kilometers of previously unsearched territory, the mission concluded without locating the main fuselage or crucial black box flight recorders. In recent years, independent researcher Richard Godfrey has introduced a potentially game-changing methodology: the analysis of weak signal propagation reporter data to track MH370's movements. WSPR, originally designed to monitor global radio wave propagation, records disruptions when objects pass through radio transmission paths. Godfrey's analysis suggests that MH370's passage disrupted over 500 WSPR transmission paths on the night of its disappearance, creating a traceable flight path that challenges previous assumptions. Rather than flying south on autopilot until fuel exhaustion, his data indicates the aircraft may have executed deliberate maneuvers, including figure-8 patterns and holding loops, suggesting manual control continued far longer than investigators had believed. Most startling is the correlation between Godfrey's reconstructed path and flight simulator, data discovered on Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah's home computer. The similarities between the actual flight path and the simulated route appear too precise to be coincidental, raising disturbing questions about premeditation. While WSPR analysis faces scientific scrutiny, critics argue it lacks the precision of traditional radar and may be susceptible to atmospheric interference. It represents a breakthrough in forensic signal analysis and demonstrates the power of unconventional investigative approaches. In 2024, Ocean Infinity announced its intention to resume the search for MH370 with significantly enhanced capabilities. The company's upgraded fleet of autonomous underwater vehicles incorporates artificial intelligence, assisted pattern recognition, deeper diving capabilities, and extended operational range designed specifically for the challenging conditions of the southern Indian Ocean. Advanced ocean current modeling, synthetic aperture radar analysis of historical satellite imagery, and machine learning applications to existing sonar data have dramatically refined the probable crash zone. Scientists now possess far more accurate simulations of how debris patterns could have originated, tightening search parameters and increasing confidence in successful recovery. Ocean Infinity's no-find, no-fee proposal, offering to accept up to $70 million only upon successful location of the wreckage, reflects both the company's technological confidence and the Malaysian government's cautious approach to renewed search efforts. More than a decade after its disappearance, MH370 remains aviation's most profound mystery, a testament to both human ingenuity in planning and the limitations of our technological surveillance systems. The systematic shutdown of communication systems, the precise timing of transponder deactivation, and the calculated route through radar blind spots all point to deliberate action by someone with intimate knowledge of commercial aviation. The tragedy has forced fundamental changes in international aviation. Mandatory satellite tracking systems, enhanced communication protocols, and improved coordination between national air traffic control systems. These reforms, while crucial for future safety, came too late for the 239 individuals whose fate remains unknown. As Ocean Infinity prepares to return to the depths with revolutionary search technologies, and as researchers like Richard Godfrey push the boundaries of forensic analysis, the investigation into MH370 continues to evolve. Each new technological capability brings the possibility of answers, closure, and justice for the families who have waited more than 10 years for the truth. The ghost of MH370 haunts not only the families of those lost, but our collective understanding of aviation security and the vulnerability of modern transportation systems. Until the aircraft is found and its black box is recovered, the full truth of what happened in those final hours may remain forever locked in the depths of the Indian Ocean. The search for MH370 represents more than the recovery of an aircraft. It embodies humanity's refusal to accept the unacceptable, our determination to transform tragedy into knowledge, and our commitment to ensuring that such a disappearance can never happen again.